When Phil Jackson took over the Knicks in 2014, I think most of us were dubious. We thought, okay, it's Phil Jackson, the Zen master. He's going back home, where his playing career started with the Knicks. No coach or executive had been able to succeed under the current Knicks ownership. But they offered him so much money, and I was told at the time it was an offer that Phil could not refuse. So he decided that he was going to go to the Knicks against better judgment there. Yes, you're smiling over there, Paulie?
We all kind of reacted to that. I seem to remember when Knicks hired Phil Jackson, it was a celebration day in New York.
Yeah.
I don't know about nationally, but being pretty close to New York here, it felt like, remember when the Bears got Jay Cutler? That was a fantastic day in Chicago history. Nobody remembers it being a fantastic day. But I remember when the Knicks got Phil Jackson, Jerry Ferrara called in and goes, we did it. We did something right. It was a great day for Knicks fans.
Well, I remember Ashton Kutcher joined us right after Jay Cutler went to the Bears, and he was so excited. He said, we finally got a quarterback. What happens is you get excited because of what happened before. You didn't have any good quarterbacks. You didn't have any good front office people. Well, although I think Donnie Walsh was very underrated with the Knicks. But, you had a mess there. Then you get Phil Jackson. We've added class. We've added dignity. We've added championship rings. None of that transferred. Yes, McLovin.
I don't remember it that way at all. I remember everyone saying, well, Dolan's there. Well, Dolan's there. That was, I think, it was probably you who said that.
But the only thing I wanted to know is, did Phil have autonomy? If James Dolan was going to get out of the way and Phil was going to run the front office, then he had a chance. But you're right. I think there was a lot of kumbaya. We finally got our guy. The savior just came into town. And they gave him an offer that he couldn't refuse. The Knicks are going to part ways with Jackson today. And this tenure was marked with controversy, certainly questionable decisions. And there are decisions that have been made that are going to affect this franchise for maybe 3 to the next 5 years. And it's not all Phil's fault. It's just the organization. And when you look at an organization that's dysfunctional, you look all the way at the top. You look at ownership there. I don't think it's any surprise. It's not a coincidence when you see a great organization. It's rare when you have a great organization and you go, yeah, they're doing that in spite of their owner. You look at the Clippers. When they had Donald Sterling, you could have a good team, but they could still be dysfunctional because your ownership there. And that's what you have with the New York Knicks. Phil did draft Kristaps Porzingis. I think that's his parting gift to the Knicks. Hey, at least I gave you Porzingis. And he almost had to take Porzingis because if other people had done research, the Knicks are very good in scouting overseas. Very good. If they do something well, it's that. They get Porzingis, fell into their lap, and now Porzingis, didn't meet with anybody, didn't want to talk to anybody. His exit interview, he exited before the interview. Yeah, Paul.
But in that 2015 draft, I remember Knicks fans were upset. We got the 4th pick. Oh, no. We got shut out of D'Angelo Russell and Jahlil Okafor.
Yeah.
Think how that would have worked out if they got Okafor 1 pick higher.
I don't know if this tarnishes his legacy. It's going to take a hit. People are still 15, 20 years from now, when they look back on Phil Jackson, they're going to say, what a great coach. You might get one of those with his obituary where it says, but his tenure with the Knicks, not good. But he did win 11 rings and coached some of the greatest players. It does make you pause and go, as brilliant as some guys are at coaching, they need somebody to get the players for them to coach. Did it help with Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Shaq, and Kobe, 4 of the top 50 players of all time? Yes, it did. But to be able to get them to play nice together, that's where I thought Phil's genius came in handy. He was able to get his star players, for the most part, certainly in Chicago, not necessarily in L.A., but he was able to get them to play together. But as far as assessing talent, that's what makes Red Auerbach so incredibly brilliant, is he's one of the greatest coaches, NBA history. He's probably one of the top 3 NBA coaches all time. And he's probably the best general manager of all time, him and Jerry West. So Red Auerbach, the brilliance of what he did in Boston, and granted, you didn't have free agency. Guys weren't leaving. You drafted a guy, he stayed with you pretty much his entire career. But he did pull off some of the more brilliant moves in NBA history. He got Bill Russell in a trade. He got Kevin McHale in a trade. He drafted Bird a year early. Phil didn't do any of that genius stuff. He's the Zen master. And he couldn't pull it off. They were young, then they got old, and now they're somewhere in between. You got Carmelo. Is he staying? Is he going? What can you get for him? They didn't want to buy him out because they knew he was going to go to Cleveland. So what do? Hopefully you bring in somebody young who's not married to that silly triangle offense that's a dinosaur now. Nobody wants to play the triangle offense. If I have Jordan and Pippen, if I have Kobe and Shaq, somehow I can play the triangle offense. I could play Princeton's offense. I mean, I could play the West Coast offense. It doesn't matter what offense I have. Somehow I could win with those guys. The triangle offense. So whoever comes in, hopefully they come in and they're ready to go, and you got to have a game plan now. Are you going to rebuild? Can the Knicks afford to rebuild? Does Carmelo stay? I want to know what Porzingis thinks of all of this. What are you going to do with Derrick Rose, Joakim Noah? Man, they got a mess here. Yes, Paulie.
Do you think that the Porzingis incident last week was the tipping point? Phil Jackson has not done a lot of interviews, and he comes out of nowhere and jabs Porzingis publicly for not showing up for his exit interview at the end of the season.
If I'm an owner and I'm looking at the future of my team, Phil Jackson's not the future of my team. Why am I going to alienate my youngest player, my star player? I've already alienated a guy who is well-respected around the league. Why would a free agent want to go play for the New York Knicks? What has Phil done that says, hey, you want to come here? I'm sort of still coaching the team because I'm telling them what kind of offense to run. And I'm trying to run Carmelo out of town. And I'm mad at Porzingis, and I'm thinking about trading him. Like, this is all schoolgirl stuff. He's not available, doesn't do interviews. He was supposed to be winning press conferences. You know, that was part of the reason why they wanted him in there. Hey, we got Phil Jackson. We're going to win the back page. Oh, you got it. You got the front page, too. And usually not very good. So, Phil, and it's rare you wake up to news like this. Normally it'll happen in the evening, late night maybe. You wake up and boom, hits you right in the face. Phil Jackson, the Knicks are going to part ways.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.